Needless to say, it is a great honor for me to be among you today and to have been awarded this honorary doctorate in philosophy. Can you hear me? Yes, I said yes. It is always a pleasure and an honor to be in any university because we in Burma have great respect for learning. We believe that learning and wisdom is the way to salvation. This is why, in my country, as we seek political reform, we seek educational reform as well. The kind of reform that will elevate the minds, the hearts, and the spirit of our people. I have chosen to speak today at the ceremony on self and others in politics. I have chosen to speak about politics because I'm a politician. In some parts of the world, in my country as well, some look upon politicians as a breed that must be avoided or criticized as much as possible. But I think I agree with my father, who said that there was no such thing as bad politics, but there can be bad politicians. In a country like mine, seeking to walk a new path in politics, that is to say, the path of democracy after many decades under military dictatorship, I would like to remind my audience here that my country was under a military dictatorship in some form or the other for half a century. That is a very long time in which a whole culture of politics could not only be changed but destroyed. At this moment, we are in the process of trying to revive a new kind of politics, one that is based on care for the majority of the people, based on principles of honesty and principles of caring for the citizens rather than for those in government. Self and others becomes a challenge whenever we enter the field that is of politics, that is to say, the field of public life. Because self is an individual and others are many. Our world today is full of troubles and challenges. Our world today is full of hatred and violence. And again, I'm troubled by the focus on what is negative rather than what is positive. It was mentioned early that my father was assassinated by political opponents who did not wish for independence of our country. With all due respect, I must disagree with this. I do believe that the men who had my father assassinated also believed in independence for our country. But they believed in getting to the goal that they wished to reach in any way possible. That is to say, they had different opinions on how to achieve independence from my father and others who believed that independence had to be gained in the right way. Independence had to be gained with the honor of our country and our people intact. In politics, as in other matters, it is not just the goal that is important, but the means that we choose to achieve this goal. As we proceed towards the goals that we have set for ourselves, whether we put self before others or others before self, will decide what the outcome eventually will be. I am not one of those who believe that the ends justify the means. If we choose the means that are not right, the ends themselves, however valuable, however precious they may have been to begin with, become distorted. Which is why politics should be not just a practical path, but a moral path, a spiritual path. I have said, and this has been quoted today in the citations, that ours has to be a revolution of the spirit. To put others before oneself is truly a revolution of the spirit. And it is very difficult for all of us who are born knowing just our own self. But as we proceed along life, and as we enter the world of politics, that is to say, the world of others, we have to learn that others matter as much as we ourselves do. It is only by enhancing the lives of others that we can enhance our own lives, because we live in a world where we cannot escape from our association with our other fellow human beings. In my religion, Buddhism, we are taught that the self does not in effect exist. It is a perception that is basically false. This is because our religion wants to teach us that to put self before others detracts from the quality of the existence of all sentient beings. In my country today, there is much conflict. There are ethnic conflicts, there are communal conflicts. And I'm troubled by the focus on the hatred, the condemnation, the desire to find culprits, the desire to identify victims. When I say that I am not interested in condemnation, but in reconciliation, it falls often on deaf ears. They seem to think that condemnation is essential for the solution of problems, whereas I have found from experience that condemnation tends to increase difficulties, fuel the fires of hatred and fear. Hatred and violence are rooted in fear. It is because we human beings fear for our own security that we fear others, and from fear we progress to hatred. When I speak at universities, I wish always primarily to address the students, the young, because the future of the world is in their hands, and also because I believe that we come into this world free from hatred, but we learn it as we go along. Recently, I was in Northern Ireland and I spoke to young teenagers in a school. Their attitudes, their values were very different from their parents and grandparents who had been engaged in violent conflict for many decades. They said they did not feel the same. For them, there was no problem in reaching out to those of a different, it is difficult to say a different religion in Northern Ireland, but to those of a different way of belief. All Christians in Northern Ireland who had fought against each other for generations. But these young people were free from that kind of hatred and prejudice. This is why I believe there is always hope for our world, and this is why I reach out to young people to build a world in which others can matter as much as the self. In my country, after half a century of military rule, there is much resentment against authoritarianism, against the military, against these elements which we believe had blighted the life of our nation. But I believe that the answer to our problems can only come with understanding and with reconciliation. We have never hated the military, or let me say, I have never hated the military. My father was the founder of the Burmese army, and although I was placed under house arrest for many years by the military regime, they never forgot that I was my father's daughter and treated me with respect and consideration. This I have always acknowledged, and I am duly grateful for the consideration. However, many of our people suffered, and suffered badly, under the military regime that destroyed some of the best values of our country. Burma, once upon a time, the best in Asia for education, for healthcare, and for a steady progress in democratic politics, now finds herself behind every other country, or almost every other country in our region. But this is not a time for bitterness. We have been given a chance to remedy what has happened in the past. We have been given a chance to heal the wounds of our nation and to move forward. We have given a chance to put others on the same level as ourselves and to move forward together. In our quest, we have been helped greatly by friends from all over the world who have encouraged us and shown us the right way by their generosity, by their concern and their care for our people. The people of Italy, the people of Bologna, will not be affected by what happens in Burma. Yet, knowing that the fate of the people of my country had little bearing on your own lives, you cared enough to reach out to us, to demonstrate your solidarity with our struggle. This is putting others on the same level as yourself. You who have helped us throughout these years have taught us that it is possible to put the self behind others. It is because of these lessons that I'm grateful to you, not for the degree, which I appreciate, the ring, the book, the beautiful ceremonies, but for the spirit and heart that led you to support us, and that, I believe, made you believe in our cause. I believe our cause will prevail because you believe our cause will prevail. You have given us the hope and the strength to carry on at a time when it seemed as though the obstacles were insurmountable. There were years when my party, the National League for Democracy, and others fighting for democracy in Burma felt that our cause was going to take many decades to prevail. But it did not take as long as some had feared, because the support of the world was greater than we had known. As I accept the honorary degree from an esteemed and precious institution, I would like to use the opportunity to call out to the world to think of others as you think of yourselves, not to think of fueling hatred, not to try to make worse areas of conflict by concentrating on the negative and on what will not generate more understanding and more compassion among us. What we need most of all are understanding and compassion. If we could all cultivate these qualities, then we will be able to surmount the problems with which we are faced. As Burma moves towards efforts to complete our transition to a democratic system that will assure basic human rights for our people, we would wish that you were by our side, not just to support us and help us, but to celebrate with us and to join us together in efforts to help others who are still in need of help. In my country, in other countries, all over the world, there are peoples who need help, not just in the betterment of their material lives, but in the betterment of their spiritual and moral lives. By your generosity and by the advantages that you have been given by the freedom to pursue knowledge, I hope that you will add not just to the future of a happier, more complete Burma, but a happier, more complete world. Thank you.